Hello, good afternoon, Stephanie.
Hello.
Stephanie Riseley is the author of Love from Both Sides, a true story of soul survival and sacred sexuality. And I want to dig in right in the subject because you've got that magic word, sexuality, and I want to hear all about it from you in your own words. I read it in the book, but you had sex with a dead person.
Well, I had the dead person, the spirit had came back and made love to me. And this is not an isolated incident. I can't tell you how many widows have written me, have called me, have thanked me for actually talking about this subject and writing about it with such candor and honesty. And as I was writing about it, I couldn't believe I was writing it, but I thought, you know what? Somebody's got to talk about this. And a year to the day after my own husband died in my arms and came back and chatted, a friend of mine who had a very similar husband, someone who was determined to do it his way, who just, had to, I got I got to do it my way. He died like that. And about a month or two after that, I looked at her and I said, "So Jean, tell me, has he come back and had sex with you?" And she totally blushed. And she said, "How did you know?" I said, "Because that's what they do." And whenever I'm standing around, I was at the I was at the Santa Barbara Nordstrom's the other day with a friend and on my book tour. And started talking to this older woman. And she told me she was a widow. And I just looked at her and I said, "So does your husband ever come back to you?" And she just looked down. She said, "Oh, yes, he comes back to me when I'm in bed." And I said,
Oh.
"I know." So
So what is it
it's the
like?
widows.
What is it like? How is that different from
It's
the sex
love.
that we know?
It's so intensely, Lou. I mean, it's, you know how when a female has an orgasm, her brain, now
Let's get to
well,
the juicy stuff. Yeah.
this is research. Okay, when a female has an orgasm, her brain opens up in one, two, three, four, five different quadrants, flooding her body with oxytocin, precursor to serotonin and dopamine. Female sexual response is so intense because we have, you know how men have a penis on the outside? Well,
Yeah.
we have our penis goes up on the inside and it attaches to our pelvic bone. So that's why you get this boom, 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 fabulous feeling. And when you have a spirit that can focus on the inside of you and bring that on like that out of nowhere, it's
That
a
makes
little
sense.
intense, and it's love and it's sacred. And that's why the 4,000 years of Judeo-Christian, saying that sex is filthy, and then and that whatever has been a bad turn that the species made. I think we have to go back to honoring this energy. It is the connective rod to the all that is. And that's what, when my husband came back and he essentially apologized for not appreciating the love that we were able to give each other while we were alive. Yeah, sex from the in between is great, but it's not as good as making love to a fabulous, smelly, wonderful man with big, I still miss his chest. I still miss his ass. I mean, had a great ass. So, I mean, we are all spirits, but we get to be in these fabulous bodies. These bodies are the expression of our God stuff, our soul stuff. And that's why sex is sacred. I'm doing a blog tour now, and somebody asked me the difference between soul love and sexual love. And I went, "Excuse me, no, there's sex for commerce, sex for barter, and then there's love." But sex for commerce is, hello, there are thousands of women in Beverly Hills who, that's sex for commerce because they're married to men having sex with men they don't love. It's always about love. And if you're enjoying the experience, and it doesn't have to be the big love either, there are little loves.
But you're saying
It's
it's
just
getting
about,
it gets better and better, not just
It does get, I am here at 62 to tell you
Ah.
that sex only gets better if you keep the vehicle of your soul in good shape. Now, I do yoga and I walk every day, and I am a hypnotherapist. I help women lose weight and stay and get their bodies so that they feel luscious. I mean, I'm looking at this New York Times article. It's called What is Female Desire?
Uh-huh.
And it's all about creating it. What turns women on is being attractive and feeling like a goddess, and that's one thing that my husband was able to give me. He every time his hands were on my body, it was the feeling of being loved. So
Mm.
that when he was dead, he was able to do that too.
Mm.
When he could come back, and I would feel him. And he it was his birthday, May 9th, and he's like been that part of him. And it's not, people have kind of a very simplistic view of the progression of souls, and it's not like I'm ever going to be Shephanie again. I usually come in as a guy, quite honestly. That's why I love being a girl. It's so good. But we all have different expressions of our beingness,
Yeah.
and his expression of his beingness was as Dan at that point, and so I don't know what he's doing now, but I know he was able to reconfigure himself enough the other day to come back on his birthday and throw pennies around so that I knew he was around. And that's how spirits sort of get your attention. Everywhere I looked, there were pennies on the ground. I went, okay, I got it. I know you're around.
Well,
Now, do your stuff. I
I
mean, I
want
just
to
wanted to say.
definitely, I definitely want to discuss more about this specifically on another video. So for now, let's
Okay.
leave it there. Absolutely amazing, mind-blowing to hear that and to read it in your book. It's very well described. Shephanie Riseley is the author of Love from Both Sides, a true story of soul survival and sacred sexuality. Thank you, Shephanie.
Joy. Yes, thank you.